All right, just gonna step in real quick and talk about Kandi and the gang. I mean, she is just one of my favorites on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Anyways, the music royalty, all the stuff. I mean, she's just so fantastic, and it was always one of those things, especially when I would watch Housewives of Atlanta or even the other franchises. You hear this sometimes. It's always funny to me though. You will hear, "Oh, she's not like she's a little bit more on the boring side." And I'm like, so creating so much success for her own life and the career of her family and so on and so forth. That's amazing. And so I've always thought this notion of a Bravo Real Housewife or just Bravo lever Bravo celebrity in general, that they have to be at 10 at all times. And it's like Candy is really at 10, but she's, going to Showtime and working on this show and then, doing the other series with Escape and, now this series. And, she's been on Broadway. I mean, she's always been a favorite of mine. And I thought that was the way actually that I would introduce my recap here of this new show, Candy and the Gang. Like I was gonna start with what as far as cast members from Atlanta were the cast members that I enjoyed. So as far as my personality, and this will be just like how I kind of bring it as far as this this review or recap or whatever. And this is a recap that's mid-season. I'll get into that in a second. So the cast members that I liked, like I was never for, well, I won't say who I was never for. I'll say who I was for. Like I am a team twirl, Gone with the Wind, fabulous Kenya Moore. I of course like Candy. I of course like Cynthia, and I actually did like She by Sheree. If it were me, way back in the day, I would have started with She by Sheree, sort of catapulting the series as her personal vehicle. I just always liked She by Sheree. So I say that to say I wasn't watching so much Atlanta at the very beginning because the gal, the No Leaks, was not interesting to me. Has never been interesting to many people. But neither here nor there. Let's talk about the show. So the first thought when I heard of it, Candy and the Gang, the first thing I thought was, okay, well, OLG for old lady gang, but also, oh, Cool in the Gang, as far as the music act. So at first I was like, is this name going to be something that's going to work? Is it going to last for a very long time? And what was interesting is it all of a sudden started getting all these comparisons to Vanderpump Rules, and I just am like, it is a similar show, structurally, but like, isn't how many reality shows, essentially, if you break it down, the Kardashians are the same as the Osbournes in some ways, but it was like two different shows. Newlyweds is the same as some of these dating shows when they first get married, but they're two different types of cast, Newlyweds was 100 years ago. So was the Osbournes. All my references are so old. Anyways, 41 years old. So anyways, let's get into this show, Candy and the Gang. And the reason I wanted to do an episode on it is because I do think it's a hit. But I wonder, it might be one of those shows, and this happens so much. It's like if the show could get a second season, which I believe it should, I feel like Candy's got something here. At first I thought it was just going to be something we would enjoy with her mom and her mom's sisters, and it would be more like cutesy in that way. But these characters are really fun. And I guess I mean, I didn't necessarily rush to doing a comparison. I think specifically because I was never a Beverly Hills fan as far as Housewives. I mean, to have Kyle and Lisa Vanderpump was just such a bore. So those two were like early on, they were like the stars of the show. So I never watched Vanderpump in the regards of from Lisa Vanderpump and enjoying her and let's see who these cast members are. It was more like I just accidentally stumbled upon it. And then you hear a wonderful soundbite like everybody in LA, everybody at Sir wants to be an actor, a musician, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Every other person waiting tables in LA wants to work at Sir. It was like you knew what you were getting from the show from the very beginning. So while I understand comparisons and I like both shows, um, they're so different. They're so unique. Specifically, I've grown up in Southern California, Los Angeles, and spent a lot of time in New York, about 7 years in total. Probably spend another 7 years there very soon. New York City is heaven to me. But the only thing that I was worried about, like, oh, am I gonna know the show or like the show? That I had not been to Atlanta yet. I've always wanted to go. Had a couple potential like radio opportunities, there too, and it's just like, I would like to go. So I was like, okay, let's watch the show, but am I going to know, Southern lingo? Maybe I don't know, but I'll just do this particular breakdown saying that I do think it's a hit, and I do think everyone's starting to say that, so that works. But it would be ashamed if people didn't jump on this right away, and it doesn't get a second season, and then it becomes, the greatest show that could have been. And greatest show meaning Vanderpump Rules probably, is on its way out. I don't 6 to 8 seasons is fantastic, and so this thing needs to get at least six, 6 to 8 seasons, and I think it'll be a great one. I think you have cast members that could, potentially spin off their own little shows down the road, just like we saw a little bit of Vanderpump. But beyond that, it's just that opportunity, thinking about it, where they're at now, they're literally working at the restaurant, but everyone who has your entrepreneurial side, you want to create all these things. And when you think of like, wow, the Tom Sandovals, or he's done a lot, um and you're just thinking like, when a door opens, who of this cast is going to really walk through? Which brings me to my first slide. I'm going to talk about some of the cast members. Can't talk about all of them. I'm just trying to make the encouragement that I do think it's great. Don't sleep on it. Don't say, well, Candy's been kind of boring. I'm a little more interested in Marlo. And I do like Marlo, but don't look at it as Candy is boring. Look at it as a way to, further learn business savviness, I guess. And by the way, it's most people who would even watch a review of this probably already like the show. So now let's talk about the cast members. Let's talk about who we like. So we'll start off with Tug and Pull. We have Brian, we have Torin. The Tug and Pull thing is so funny, it's so marketable, and it's a little naughty too, which we like. So I guess evidently what we're hearing, and I believe Torin was just on a speak on it. Torin was just on a speak on it with Kandi, and it's basically, in the words of Torin, it was sort of blown out of proportion. But isn't that what great TV is? If you have that one little story, let's accentuate it as much as you possibly can. And I think Brian did it when Brian was on Speak on It, and Torin did it when he was on Speak on It, and it's just fun and it's funny. As far as their roles in the show, what we have Brian dealing with is a little bit of like substance abuse in the way of alcohol. I believe there may be more, there may be less. I don't know. I'm not. This is not a judgment in that regard. And then I thought was interesting too is that at least the way he explained it, some of it had to do with the vibe of a pandemic, and it's weird. We got to come up with a new word actually, because so many of us have lost work in the in that what the panini, and it's like we've all had to recuperate in certain ways. So I would like to say that, oh, this major thing happened 2 Marches ago, 2020, but then it's like, oh, I'm depressed. It's like, I'm not depressed, I'm just dealing with a lot of loss with work and situations or whatever. So Brian, I think, is all of us, and that's what I love about him on the show, is that he is a character that wears such a big heart when he's up, and then he has no problems like giving it to you exactly how he feels, exactly what he struggled with. And also liked the fact that he had said he grew up in Los Angeles, but then now he's thriving in Atlanta. And I believe he was saying on the Speak on It, he's also had potential opportunities to be on shows before. And then he also, I believe, went to school with like El Varner. I believe Kyla Pratt too. I was trying to hear who he said specifically, but what I'm saying is, it's like Brian is always going to be a reality star. This is just the first time we're seeing it. So that would be my applause for Brian. And then Brian is just fun. And, if you want to get into people, we're so bashful. You know what I mean? We don't dress loud. We don't dress big. We're sometimes nervous of, oh, does this look good? Or my body, I want to lose 30 pounds. Da, 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 da. And Brian is just like, I just like that it's always something new. He really is a party. you know, he even has a demeanor that really matches really well or contrasts really well. I don't know what it would be with the with OLG, Mama Joyce and the two sisters. And you hear it like they say, I think Aunt Bertha was like, I like Brian, and I think we all are starting to. A lot of the questions that Kandi would say in the speak on it is like, who's going to be changed the most, season 2, season 3. And so far everyone's like, we're all going to be humble and like, yeah, version. Okay, noted. But I'm gonna tell you, Brian is here to win. Like in my mind, Brian he's so great. So Torin is I guess was with the restaurant originally, and then now it's verged into um special events or whatnot, and planning his own nights or whatever, and has such a great rapport with Candy. I will say that I did not know, like when I first looked at the show, I didn't know that Torin would be somebody who would, you're watching the show, eating your popcorn, and he would just keep making you laugh. And while I wasn't sure, and I know a lot of people were on the other end of this, they actually thought Philip was being tacky to Torin. I'll be honest, I thought Torin was being a little tacky to Philip. Like essentially, he is the person who you will be reporting to, unless that was not necessarily concluded. But like also on a level of like, yes, when you talk, you do talk like we look, I don't like not give me your full attention. So I actually was with Philip on that particular thing. So I didn't really see in the first episode as like Torin was going to be so fun, and then all of these other elements of like tug and pull, and it's just great. Okay, can I tell you who else I really enjoy? Um, so the other couple, no, it's not the other couple because obviously Torin was not with Brian, but it's just fun tug and pull merchandise, I'm sure. But I think this is Dom and Brandon. Um, Brandon being one of the few straight guys that works at OLG. Um, can I tell you that I really like Dom? And I know that I think the way the show was set up, I think that it was almost like the viewer was really looking at like, oh, Chandrika is going to be the most interesting one, and she probably will be. But no, I like Dom. I like Dom. I like the fact that she's got her own little career. I think like anytime you could be like super honest, like it's not saying that you're only there for the camera, but it's like I do want to be a dancer. That's where I want to go. And the way she's and this might be a credit to Kandi, the way she's been able to because Kandi herself, has been in situations where it's business meets the art, meets the timing of it all. And I think she just really wants to see Dom win. But to me, Dom, I like just because not only do I like that side of her, she when we first met her on the show here, we learned that she danced on one of the tours or whatnot or shows with Escape, and now she's going to London to do work with someone else, and that part is fun. And I think that was a part that if we're going to do one more quick comparison with Vanderpump Rules, is we get to see their restaurant lives and then their pursuant career. I've always said for a long time that I liked really all of the seasons, specifically the first and the second. Well, actually, 1, 2, and 3, because technically O Town was the first. But all the Making the Bands I really liked because you got to see people that are going for their dreams, and like we get to witness it. So will she how big will she grow in the world of dance? I don't know, but like I like to see it. So that's just like one reason I like her. But I also think the best one-liners are still yet to come with Dom. That's something that early on I spotted. And that was even before the whole like she was dating Brandon and he's like a manager. So then, like, what does that look like in terms of the restaurant? And oh, all of a sudden, maybe she gets a little less. She gets like a slap on the wrist as far as like, oh, you were late versus everyone else is going to get written up or whatever. Um, but there's something about Dom that I like. I think there's some one-liners coming. I think she's confident as all can be, and I like that in a cast member. Um, when I look at like housewives that I liked, I tend to lean towards like a Larsa Pippen. I tend to lean towards a Kenya Moore. I tend to lean towards a Giselle Bryant. I tend to lean towards a Melissa Gorga. People that just really like themselves, there's nothing wrong with that. We are taught as people to be not necessarily like ambitious and well worded with what we want. And I think Dom is, and I love that. So I look at the times in my own career too, which started 100 years ago, um, and all the peaks and valleys. But I look at it and I'm like, oh man, what about if I could have just been when I was young, like just like, hey, this is what I want to do. I'm clear about it. I'm gonna put in the work. Sometimes you walk into rooms and you're like, oh, hey, I was just happy to be here, humble, blessed. And by no means am I saying Dom is not vulnerable. And by no means am I saying Dom is like quiet or whatever. I don't know her personality that well, but I'm gonna say that in my mind, outside of this little aren't they dating situation, Dom is she's just interesting. Moving on to Patrick, who is in a situation that could actually be weird. Kandi is related to him. So, on one hand, interpersonally within the family, it could be like hard to work for family. But in the regards of, working with the restaurant and all the other staff, like that could be complicated. But what he's doing well, and I don't know if this is punched up for the camera or for the show, but he is just like, I mean, there is a little well, oh, and then he had dated Chandrika, or like a little bit. But then he's with a new girl, and this new girl evidently took his player card. So um but that's not even the most interesting thing to me. He's just funny. He's just funny. He's just lively, good big energy. So yeah, yeah, really good, big, like you're working the lamest job probably on the site, even though Candy is related to you. When your energy is that big, and you're working as the parking attendant, it's fun to watch. And he's cool. And he's also there's another family member I believe that also lives with him at the moment, and there's the girlfriend. I don't know where any of that will go. We will see. I wonder, I'm not certain if I pulled a photo of Chandrika, but I'll just mention that Chandrika was I thought we'd get a lot about her, and maybe we're going to get some potential, well, if you don't want to work here, there you go. um, so what I'm saying is with Chandrika, I felt like at the beginning we thought she was almost like it almost was like edited that she was like lazy. Turns out she's a really cool chick. I like that she's good friends with Brian. Again, anyone who's on team Brian, I kind of like, which leads me to my dilemma because Brian seemed to have an issue with Philip. Now I'm gonna pull up this photo because I had to pull up a photo of Philip as, as the boss. And then I had to pull up the thirst trap picture too, because Philip, mm, 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 mm. Oh yes. Oh, very good. Um look, I can't even speak anymore. But I don't okay. So then there's this thing. It's like, am I only being like, oh, I didn't think anything, that Philip said was mean? Or am I just like, am I swooning in what I'm seeing? Am I like, and am I like, yeah, okay, okay, Philip. No, I mean, and that is what these shows do. These shows are edited in a way to make you choose a side. Like, oh yeah, like was that the proper way to tell your team? Was that the proper way to tell your staff these are the new rules that are implemented? um this photo, I had to do research, you see. I had to, I had to. um so I wonder, maybe I'm just more like, I'm looking past, he could have actually been, I guess, a little kinder to Torin. But he wasn't, and I had no problem with it. I get my voice. No, serious note. I do think he's great for TV though, and then it does not hurt. It doesn't hurt. The boyfriend, good looking. The best friend, good looking. He's not as pleasant with everybody, but he hasn't really been mean to them. I love it all. I love it all. So yeah, that's just like a couple of thoughts that I had about Candy and the gang. And it just she's got a good group. It's authentic to a restaurant that she opened up. I guess there's two OLGs and a Blaze. So I mean, three restaurants, and she's done it all. Grammy, Housewives for so many years. She was even on Big Brother. So Candy sometimes doesn't get the respect that she deserves, in terms of what people feel needs to be compelling on a reality TV series. And I have watched so much reality TV, and she's always been a fun watch. I think we should have that. Even me, like with the way we talk, we're like, so much of us is confident, and then we get like nervous. We're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my gosh. It feels good to see all those sides. And I think the most special part about it, because these cast members that I showed are really, the show. And it's not to say that there's other great cast members. There's the one who I think he came from the other restaurant too. He's big into fashion or whatnot, so he has his own thing too. There's a lot. Chandrika I think is great too. But I think it's really this midpoint that I'm hoping they get greenlit for another season. That it's this midpoint that you're like, oh yeah, yeah, sure, you're gonna obviously always compare a restaurant based show to um, Vanderpump Rules, in the same way that when you're an artist, you're the next, blankety blank, or when you're doing a movie or a TV show, it's like, oh, this meets this equals this. I mean, that's just kind of how we always do comparatively. But at this point, this is the midway point. We're actually getting really excited about Atlanta. The trailer came out; it looked really good. Candy really is sort of stepping in. She's I would, yeah, the longest running on the series right now. I'm so excited about She by Sheree coming back. I'm even more excited that she's kind of friendly with Kenya, which is just never really a thing you never think of. And if I have to choose the two, while I love She by Sheree, I do, I'm always going to be Team Twirl. Um, yes, 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 yes. So there's and Marlowe's coming, and the new cast member looks interesting as well. Drew is on the series. But what is good is there's just an excitement now. We're midway. Let's get to, it's been a while, since we've seen this Atlanta franchise on the air as far as Housewives. And I think Candy, like, having this shorter ordered series, obviously it's not a ton of episodes, but I think it's enough. And it opens my mind to, like, oh my God, who is Dom dating such and such? Like, did that work out? I'm wondering, like, okay, Brian, he does have fortitude with, I think he has a side business, but what else is he working on? Brian is ready to get all the checks. We can tell. He's he's ready to parlay all of this into something else. And I that dedication is good. I'm trying to think, is there a critique of the show? Is there a critique of the show just yet? No, because we see OLG, we see the ladies. I think okay, if I had to do a critique, I think seeing Mama Joyce and her sisters is fun. I think there was the one episode that they started showing a ton of family. I feel like that maybe could be more for Candy story on Housewives. I really feel like you have enough, and maybe it was because it was at the beginning and you're kind of like, they're more the familiar characters. And because you didn't know Torin, you didn't know Brian, you didn't know Chandrika, you didn't know Dom, you didn't know Brandon, Patrick. So now that we're knowing this cast, this wonderful cast, that, like, we could maybe concentrate on them a little bit more. I would say I do love the fact that it's mostly male. Oh, and Don Juan, I didn't even say one word about Don Juan. So that would be a critique. If we could see more of Don Juan, we're seeing more of him because he's not just like a friend of now with Candy. he's got a great role, but it's like let's also see a little bit, let's peek behind and see a little bit more of his dreams, his aspirations. Most of what we see is him just taking care of business, which is a great thing too. But it's more like I think even on Candy Speak on It, Candy Speak on It, he was talking about like, even calculating times for, wanting to have a child, so it's those things that were like, when you have a cast member who's a friend of for so many years and you only get little bits and little nuggets, I would feel like this would be a great time to get a little bit more about just who he is and where where he comes from and what his goals are, and all the happiness, all the long hours. I imagine if you're running at Candy's speed, it's hard to do anything else but be very very focused on the work. But yeah, Candy and the Gang, I think it's a great show. I encourage you to check it out. I mean, obviously if you are recapping or watching with me, you think it's good too. That does wrap it up for me. I my prediction would be that yes, there will be a couple other seasons. Um, and I feel like maybe another female cast member to mix in as well could also work. Maybe not even as young, maybe somebody a little older. It's just something, just one, maybe one more cast member. But yeah, no, pretty glowing reviews. I didn't expect anything, so wasn't that I didn't expect much, I just didn't expect anything. And now I'm like, oh yeah, every Sunday I want to check it out. I want to see like what's up. So it's fun. And again, maybe that's because I've never been to Atlanta and I feel like, oh my gosh, I want to go so badly. Like I said, grew up in LA, spent 7 years in New York, but I'm like, how have I not got to see like Southern culture? Miami, but that's not Atlanta. So I want to go. So yeah, that's it. So far, my favorite cast member is gotta be Brian with a touch of Philip. And I know. I mean, ooh, for research purposes. Um, very good looking. I gotta go. I gotta go right this second. I gotta go. I gotta go now. Bye.